Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasts.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of All Hallows Eve podcast. I'm Kathy.
And I am Jason. And we are back after, about a month off?
Yes.
So.
Do we remember how to do this?
Oh, yeah, I came up here early just to see if I could remember how to do it. It was nice. I needed it.
Needed a break?
I was away from everything. Social media, recording, emails. I just hit the off button. I think I went online a couple of times, but nothing like I usually am.
Well,
So
sometimes you need a break.
yeah,
The beautiful weather was calling, and
yeah, no, good.
our kids
Yeah.
were calling, and
Yeah, we got out there and got our garden somewhat put in, and our flowers in our yard are finally done. And
yep, the flowers are done. The garden, not so much.
yeah.
I overdid it the first couple times and got severe sunburn. So
Yeah, we're talking like almost 3rd-degree sunburn. So
Jason's like, no more sun for you.
no.
You vanished to the shade.
I told her to put a frickin' regular T-shirt on. She comes out in a goddamn tank top. What part of regular T-shirt are we not understanding in this conversation?
It was hot.
Yeah, but your neck said otherwise.
It was hot.
Said I'm from the South, but I'm not a redneck. But yeah, no, it's been fun. It's been enjoyable.
Yeah.
To just unplug for a little while and find family again, right?
Mm-hmm. The kids had a lot going on.
Yeah.
Almost done with school.
Yeah. We
They
only
just
got
had
a couple of days left.
their parade of success.
Yeah, and they had their color run, which was a huge success. And
Yes, it was.
our niece graduated on Friday, or
Friday.
Yeah, Friday she graduated from high school.
So Friday the kids had the parade of success.
Yeah,
So they walked all the way around, which is a big block around the school, with their little signs showing off what they had achieved during the school year.
yeah,
Then right after that was the color run,
yeah.
which was so much fun. The kids had an absolute blast. It was so fun to see all those kids just running around the playground, getting
Yeah,
cremated with color.
I was driving up. There's a 4-way stop like a block away from the school, and I could see pink clouds of friggin' chalk up in the air. I'm like, well, I guess they started without me.
The kids got to run around the track multiple times and just came home pelted in colors.
Yeah.
And then we got home, and no sooner were we home, we had to leave for graduation. We went with color and all.
Yeah. It was a wild Friday, needless to say, but it was a well-needed break. Like when we did that show with Films and Fermentation, I could feel something coming on, and literally I was sick for
Yeah, you did get
2
hit
to
with
3
that.
weeks, like right back to back. It was just, and I still haven't recouped from it.
You got hit with it hard. You were the only one, thank goodness.
Yeah, I don't know if it was just because I was wore down. Like, I've never been sick back to back.
You rarely get sick to begin with. It's always me.
And now back to back like that, I'm just kind of like, are you kidding me right now? What the is going on? But here we are. We survived.
We are back.
Yes, we are back. And again, I just want to say thank you to Leo, Mike, and Kevin over at Films and Fermentation for having us on. That was our last show with anybody. That was like a cutoff.
Yeah, we didn't quit because of your show.
No, because who was it that was giving you shit on Facebook about it? Was it Mike?
Yes.
Yeah, Mike was giving you crap about it.
We didn't quit because of your show. I did not quit
no.
because of your show. Like Jason, we needed a break.
Yeah, yeah, we were burnt, and you get that with podcasting, because it's a weekly show every week, and you got to find that downtime sometimes, and
I'm sorry, but once the sunshine is out and the temperature is above 60,
yeah, we're outside more than we're inside.
I gotta be outside.
Yeah,
I gotta suck up that sunshine while I can.
Yeah, because it'll be gone here very shortly.
Yes.
But no, I wanted to say thank you to those guys for having us on and getting us out of our element and going through some movies that brought back a lot of memories, not just for me, but for those guys and Kathy. So and you also get to hear us drunk. So if you haven't heard that episode, head over there and check them out. And I also wanted to say thank you to Deb and Chris over at Today We Laughed and Learned. We're still trying to schedule our part of the show. So I promise you guys we will get on that. Whenever you guys are ready, we're ready. But thank you, you guys. You guys have been awesome. So
and we've kind of decided though that for the summer that we won't necessarily record every week.
Yeah.
It might be every other week.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do with bi-weekly. I think that'll be a lot easier on us and still give us that outside time. Because now is actually the time I usually start thinking about Halloween also.
Yes. He was already out in the garage
tinkering around. Yeah. And I mean, this is, I make all my own lawn ornaments and stuff. So I am in my garage doing my Halloween or my Halloween decorations. So I need time for that. So it's we need to find that
happy medium.
Yep, that happy medium for the summer.
Yes, so. I know I can do my research while I'm outside, but then all my friends and my kids' friends all want to stop and say hi and chit chat, and I get nothing done.
And on top of that, I'll be working 2 jobs for a little bit too with school, so it's just gonna be hard to keep up on the research end of it, so we're giving us a little bit of a buffer for that. So, for everybody that has kept up, for everybody that has been listening, thank you very much. For everybody that has been to our website and keeps going to our website, thank you very much. That is www.allhallowsevepodcast.com. You can find all of our merch and everything over there. Thank you for supporting us in any way you can.
And we're not going away. We're just taking little mini vacations throughout summer to enjoy time with our kids.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to be cooped up in the attic all summer. So.
No.
But yeah. Anywho.
Did you ever find any weird news?
Yes, I did actually. I did find some weird news.
Ooh.
Yeah, and this is actually kind of a cool idea when you sit down and you think about it, because I used to work in the funeral business on the burial vault side of it, and burial vaults are made out of concrete and chemicals and everything else. So this is actually kind of a cool concept.
Okay.
I have a little short 1 minute, about a minute and a half clip. And then I'll read you the article, which comes from Ripley's.com. You ready?
Ready.
What if we no longer work with dead materials, but collaborate with living organisms?
We are the generation that will enrich nature.
We believe that Earth's wisdom can guide us towards a positive footprint.
But how do we become one with nature again?
We found a solution that was hidden below our feet this whole time. This is mycelium, world's biggest recycler. Look at them go, fascinating.
Continuously transforming organic matter and pollutants into fresh nutrients
that allow new seedlings to thrive and flourish. A wonderful closed-loop system.
We are Loop, and we collaborate with mycelium to bring back human nutrients into the cycle of life in the most natural way.
We've invented the world's first living coffin that empowers humanity to enrich life after death. Feed the earth with the loop living cocoon.
Find peace on the loop forest bed. And let nature thrive with the loop earthrise.
Become a tree and enrich life after death for your loved ones and future generations.
Decide today,
Are you waste or are you compost?
from graveyard to forest.
Let's close the loop.
A living coffin?
Yeah, it's a living coffin. This is really, really cool because, well, for one, we obviously are losing space when it comes to things like that. That is why they're really pushing like cremations, the cremation aspect of it. You know what I mean? Like cemeteries are becoming, unfortunately, overpopulated.
Okay.
So what this is a mushroom coffin, and the earth will thank you later. That's the title of it. So everything about standard burial
I know it's been a while, but your tongue should still work.
You tell me.
No.
Mhm. So everything about standard burial practices is bad news bears when it comes to the environment. Stinking lacquered coffins. Sinking lacquered coffins and metal caskets into the ground represents just the beginning of the problem. Approximately 800,000 gallons of formaldehyde and other toxic chemicals enter the soil each year through embalmed bodies. Not to mention that 4 million acres of forests end up as coffins. All told, the square footage of cemeteries in America totals 1 million acres. Cremation isn't much better. It releases gases like carbon monoxide, heavy metals, sulfur dioxide, and more into the air. No wonder people continue to look for more eco-friendly ways to leave the earth, and maybe leave it a better place. Enter mushroom coffins. Invented by an intrepid Dutch inventor, these sustainable tombs offer sleek simplicity in a container guaranteed to decompose within 45 days. My thing, I haven't read the whole article yet, but my thing is if a body is embalmed the right way, that body will last forever. It will stay forever.
I'm kind of liking this idea.
Me too.
I've always been very adamant that I want to be cremated.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know. I know. You're just like my mother.
But this sounds kind of cool. I'd rather be turned into a tree.
Right? Let me keep reading.
Okay, I'm
All
sorry.
right. So, decomposing traditional burial practices. A traditionally embalmed body takes between 5 to 10 years to decompose, leaving behind a pile of bones and a sludge of toxins. And that is no joke.
Okay.
But of course, this figure depends on the embalming job, soil conditions, and other environmental factors. Even the liner of a coffin can significantly impact the body's condition over time. Once human remains skeletonize, all bets are off. It can take decades or far longer for bones to disintegrate. Now, the liner that is in a burial vault is a vinyl liner. It's a heavy, thick plastic liner. So anybody that knows plastic, it doesn't decompose. So guess what's just sitting there, right? So how green burials compare? Contrasted with green burials, the differences prove shocking. On average, bodies given natural burials experience more decomposition within as little as 6 weeks. So versus years.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's when most of the soft tissue breaks down due to moisture absorption via the surrounding soil. Full decomposition usually occurs within 2 years, although bones may remain for another 2 decades in moist soil. Green burials come with a clear advantage for the environment, but many people still require convincing about this type of internment. And why? I understand why, but this just makes more sense to me, this new practice. Moreover, falling back on traditions can provide comfort for those facing loss. Fortunately, mushroom coffins offer a better way to say goodbye to loved ones while still adhering to more traditional final wishes. Bob Hendricks, 29, of the Netherlands, invented the fungi tomb. No, not fun guy. The fun guy. Fungal tomb. And it remains his passion project. He researched how nature recycles as he worked to create a better means of green burial. This led him to mushrooms. He explains, I learned that they are the biggest recyclers on the planet. So I thought, hey, why can we not be a part of the cycle of life? And then decided to grow a mushroom-based coffin. Some have likened the coffin to an unpainted Egyptian sarcophagus. Its lines prove minimalistic and sleek, and it can even be draped with moss, providing a soft spot for a body during the funeral. And they have pictures on Ripley's of the inside of it, where it's lined with moss.
That looks so peaceful and inviting to me.
To me, it feels more natural.
Right.
Right. So Loop Biotech manufactures the coffins, promoting them as a way to participate in the circle of life. In partnership with, I can't pronounce this, it's Nature Burials Netherlands. Loop Biotech embeds mushroom entombed remains in protected parks. So federal parks. They're federal parks, whatever that might be. And this new green burial method appears to be mushrooming.
Pun
intended. Especially across Northern Europe. Why? Because local populations are so eco-conscious. They're also familiar with the role of mushrooms in natural ecosystems. Can Loop Biotech keep up with spiking interest in fungi burials? Currently, the company boasts the capacity to cultivate 500 coffins simultaneously, and they also make urns for individuals who prefer cremation. Sustainable urns have a sapling sticking out. That way, when the urn breaks, the ashes inside nurture and feed the young tree. Besides making burial better for all involved, Hendricks sees his invention as a game changer regarding views about death. It brings a new narrative in which we can be part of something bigger than ourselves. How much does it cost to go down in a mushroom? Right now, Loop Biotech ships solely across Europe, unfortunately. Urns cost a little over $200, and coffins in excess of $1,000.
That's not bad, though.
That's pretty fucking good, I'm going to be honest with you. While some might balk at these costs, getting buried in a fungus sarcophagus remains far more affordable than serving a pound of black and white truffles at your next dinner party. Your average American funeral average is anywhere between $12,000 to $15,000.
I know.
That's including coffin, or I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. That includes burial vault. That includes your, what's the word I'm looking for? What do you lay in?
Coffin.
Thank you. That includes your coffin.
Or casket, depending on
Thank
what
you.
you
That
go
was
with.
the word I'm looking for.
Well,
Casket.
They're two different things, so it depends on what you're looking for.
Yep. So you're looking at, your burial vault, your casket, your showing, all of that. Even cremations.
Don't call it a showing, you're viewing.
Your whatever, same thing. Even cremations.
They're
Your
about
urns
$6,000.
are expensive.
Yeah.
We are when I was there, that was over 20 years ago. When I was there, urns were anywhere between $5,000 to $2,000, depending on the urn that you wanted. So, I mean, that urn that they have has a sapling in it. You can take it out, bury it in the ground, and you have a tree.
I think that's a really cool concept.
Right?
I love the idea.
I like it a lot. I really like this idea a lot. And that's inexpensive. $1,000 for a casket. Think about that. I mean, fuck,
I think we spend way too much money on urns and coffins for something that's primarily just put in the ground.
And you'll never see it again.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm a little what's the word I'm looking for again here?
Stingy.
No. Yeah, I'm stingy when it comes to money, but
Oh, that's not where you're going.
no. Like I'm a little cold when it comes to that aspect of it, because me personally, you ain't gonna see me. Who cares what you do with me? You take me out in the back 40, bury me underneath a fucking tree so I can at least do some good somewhere. Now I sound like my mom. You know, I mean, it makes more sense doing it this way.
Way more sense.
Personally, at least you're helping the environment, right?
Mm-hmm. You're not hurting the environment.
No, and I mean, you got metals. You have. I'm just curious how that works. Being embalmed, does it take it longer to decompose?
Oh, I'm sure it does.
Even in one of these.
Oh, that I don't know.
And when it does decompose the casket, because working in that field, I've walked around many a cemetery before, and you have like newer sections and older sections, and I've even pointed them out to you, Kathy, when
Right.
we've walked.
Right.
You'll see dips in the landscape, and that is where they used to bury without a burial vault. And over time, wood decomposes, and it leaves a dead space, no pun intended, where if you walk over it, there's a chance you could fall into it. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. No, it does.
So does this do the same thing?
I don't know that this gets buried. I'm not sure.
Or does this just, you take it out there and let it decompose naturally?
I don't know. From the pictures, it kind of looks like that's what it happens, but I could be totally wrong. It could just be staged for this picture. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, we have a long tradition of burial in the States. So to get people to start looking into this aspect is a long road. You know what I mean?
I am on board for this.
I would do this in a heartbeat. Like I said, you're not going to see me. You did your fanfare, did whatever you needed to do.
I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to come visit you.
Right? Like, I mean, why wouldn't you look at this as an option? You come from the earth, why not go back to the earth like that? You know, that was deep.
The coffin itself dissolves in 30 to 45 days.
Okay. But the body is still in there.
The process for the body is under 3 years for the body to decompose.
So
your coffin goes first, and then you
follow.
naturally
But
decompose.
it's made out of mushrooms, which would naturally eat away at your body. You know what I mean? Like, that's a natural process.
Right.
So, yeah. No, that makes more sense to me than any other thing.
I agree. I'm not going to dispute it.
Nope. So, look into it, everybody. Right now, it's only available over in Europe, but if you can push it to bring it over here, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I'll promote it. You know.
Oh, great. Now he has a new business.
No, I'm going to reach out to him and say, hey, you want to sponsor us? But, yeah, there you go. There's this week's weird news. So,
I don't think that's weird. I think that's
No.
pretty awesome.
I do. I think that I like that. That's really cool. So, all right. After these messages, we will get into my wife's favorite part of recording now.
Shock therapy.
All right. We'll be right back. Okay, now we're back. So this is our newer segment that we started right before we went out on a hiatus. And my daughter really likes this one, but she's not here today. So basically what
She's
this
out.
is, she's what?
She's out enjoying the sunshine with her BFF.
Yeah. So basically what this is I am strapped to a, don't put it down. I cannot see it. Thank you. So basically what this is this is one of those training collars. Okay, I think everybody can hear it.
That's the sound it makes when the dog is doing something he's not supposed to.
Yeah, and we don't even have to put it on him. There is also a shock part on this. So basically what they do is she will ask me questions. I have 15 seconds to answer it. And if I don't answer it right, I get zapped. What?
Nothing.
And it'll go up incrementally in voltage from there.
I am not touching it. Or that either.
Let's rephrase that. You're not touching the clicker.
Correct.
So, all right. So, yeah. You got your timer?
I have the timer. I have the clicker. I have the questions. This is so much easier when Reagan's here.
I know, right? All right.
Trying to do it all myself is
a little rough.
Yeah. Okay, we have 5 questions.
Mm-hmm.
You may or may not know the answers to these.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready. Get your finger off it. I haven't even don't.
I'm trying to keep myself organized. There's a lot going on over here.
Okay. All right.
Many stories and novels by Stephen King are set in which state?
Maine.
Oh. You got that one nice and fast.
Yeah. Derry. What was the other one? Castle Rock. What's it up to now?
7.
7. Okay. I'm a little jumpy. It's been a while. All right.
Okay.
I have the right to be jumpy.
Okay.
All right.
Ready?
Yeah.
I do have most of these set up for multiple choice if needed, but I'd like you to try to do them without.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for looking out there, buddy.
No problem.
Yeah.
All right, ready?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The novel The Shining was inspired by which hotel?
Oh, goddamn. We did an episode on it, too.
The Crescent, Driscoll, Stanley,
The
Winchester.
Stanley.
Right at the buzzer.
Hot damn.
Should not have given you multiple choice.
No, you shouldn't have, because I completely forgot it. There's a kid in my school that went to the Stanley, and his shirt said, "I met ghosts at the Stanley."
I'm jealous. Who is this kid? I want to go on vacation with them.
I can't. I'm not saying anything, but
Okay.
It was really cool. He even came up to me. He goes, "Mr. Jason." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "We're going to the Stanley." I'm like, "Oh, are you serious, dude?" Like, I think he's in 3rd grade. I'm like, "Are you serious?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm excited."
Do you need a tutor while you're gone?
Anyway.
Okay, next question.
Yep.
I'm disappointed so far. I want to hit the button.
She's got the finger on the trigger over there.
In Bram Stoker's Dracula,
All right.
what does the monster allegedly need from his home country to stay healthy?
Soil.
Damn it! Yes.
He needs his own soil. And you thought that this one, I'm not saying a word because the next 2 are probably fucking hard as hell.
No, they're not.
All right.
Sad.
Yeah. You should see your face right now.
You know I'm going to zap you just for fun, right?
I know. Yeah, probably.
How many ghosts make an appearance to Ebenezer Scrooge in A Christmas Carol?
3. You know that's my favorite Christmas movie.
I know, but you know how many people get that question wrong?
Why?
I don't know. A lot of people think there's 4.
No, there's only 3.
There's only 3, but a lot of people think that they're 4.
Technically, there is because he gets visited by Marley, and he's a ghost. So technically there is 4.
I guess.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Last one.
Yep.
This one you're probably not going to get right.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Thanks. You did that on purpose, so the shock is like the highest.
Yes.
Yeah, I know you did.
Okay. Approximately how many pieces of candy does a plastic jack-o'-lantern hold?
Say what? That's a serious fucking question.
Yep.
How many pieces of candy does it?
The little pumpkin that you carry around for Halloween.
I know, and you already hit start, so I'm probably
Yeah.
out of time already. I don't know, 2,000.
Nope.
Ow! Ow! Goddamn! Oh, fuck! Oh, that left. Oh, look at that! That left marks. Oh,
Fix your mic.
Oh, hot damn. That one left marks.
Let me see.
Yeah, I swear to God.
Oh, shit. It did.
That left marks.
I'm glad I saved that one for last.
She's like,
I did not. I hit the button and let go.
Strap me into old Sparky. Good God. Take a picture of that. Post that on Facebook. God damn.
He got bit by a vampire in his arm.
Got bit by something. I don't know if it was an
You going to answer the question?
What question?
Approximately how many pieces of candy does the plastic jack?
I said 2,000. I don't know.
No.
Yeah, I got it wrong. So what is it?
250.
That's it?
That's it.
We're talking the old-fashioned,
Yeah,
like,
the little one with the
carry
little
ones,
plastic
right?
handle. Yeah.
That's it?
Yep. 250 pieces.
No wonder they always used to carry around the fucking sacks.
The pillowcases?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad I saved that one for last.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah. For you.
Yeah, that was.
Not me. God damn. All right, so the fuck? I don't know why I agreed to doing this.
It was your idea.
I know it was. I don't know why I agreed to doing it. Kathy's like, oh, yeah, I'll do it. I'm like, fuck, all right. All right, so we will get into our main segment, which is...
The Ohio State Reformatory. Not to be confused with the Ohio State Penitentiary.
And she will tell you why after these messages. All right, and we're back.
I'm confused. Did you just play the intro to our shock therapy at the end?
Yeah, because I completely forgot to
do
it.
Okay.
But
Okay.
after fine editing,
Okay.
you will hear it in the beginning. And that will go into our outtakes.
Okay.
All right, anyway, we're back. So why is it not to be confused with the Ohio Penitentiary or whatever?
Because, okay, so basically, the Ohio State Reformatory was set up as a place for younger gentlemen who were too old for juvie,
Mm-hmm.
but their crimes were not serious enough for the Ohio State Penitentiary.
So it was like a midway point.
Right. The reformatory was set up just for that, to reform
Mm-hmm.
the people who were staying there.
Yeah, reform them and send them back out into society.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's a difference, but when doing research, a lot of places,
Twist it
yes,
or confuse it.
yes, and yes.
Yes and yes and yes.
Yeah, like I had to really like pay attention because one place would be talking about the reformatory,
And then go into the penitentiary.
and then another part
of
would
it.
be talking about the penitentiary, but it would be listed under the reformatory, and it's not the same place. They're two separate places.
Okay.
The architect for the reformatory was Levi Schofield. The square footage for the facility was 250,000 square feet.
That's a nice size.
To build the facility, it was approximately $1.4 million.
In what year?
Well, here's the thing, too. Construction started in 1886.
Okay.
However, construction was not completed until 1910.
Holy shit. 30 years?
There was 24 years in between the beginning and the finish of the place.
Wow. Did it... go ahead. I'm sure it'll get into why it took so long and everything else.
A lot of it was due to funding issues.
Okay. Well, yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
And even before the facility was completely finished, in September 1896, 10 years after it started construction, they actually took in 150 offenders to the reformatory, and they immediately were put to work on the prison sewer system and the 25-foot stone wall surrounding the complex.
So they had prisoners help build this
it.
place.
Yes.
That was normal back then.
So not only did they have to stay there, they
They
had
had
to
to help build
it.
Yeah. Jackasses. And not get paid for it.
Well, they were serving time.
Yeah, I know. I get
So-
it. Yeah.
The massive facility was designed with 3 architectural styles in mind: Victorian Gothic, Romanesque, or Richardsonian Romanesque and Queen Anne, resulting in a castle-like appearance. The unique styles were meant to encourage inmates to become reborn back into their spiritual lives. So the structure itself was supposed to put fear into them and remind them that they need to contribute to society in a positive way.
And not a negative way.
Right.
Okay.
So this place is like massive. It's actually quite beautiful on the outside,
Mm-hmm.
which is weird. A lot of these places that we've been doing research on,
Yeah.
they're absolutely stunning and gorgeous.
Yeah. And such evil happened inside of them.
Well, yeah, this one does have quite a bit of
Yeah. And
dark,
Yeah.
evil presence involved.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple that I was looking at, and it's like, oh, these are freaking beautiful, but not thousands, but hundreds of people died inside these walls.
This one, they know for sure of 251 deaths, that some are natural, some are not.
Mm-hmm.
There is a cemetery that is outside of the facility, 250 unmarked graves. They just have
Numbers.
on them.
Yeah.
And
That's that. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
I tried to, because like I said, trying to find information, I really had to go through and piece together what I could find.
Mm-hmm.
And if I remember correctly, in one of the articles I was reading, the cemetery is actually protected. You can't get to the cemetery.
Okay. Well,
Don't really know why, but yeah, you can't. You can see it from the grounds,
but you can't.
but you
There's
can't.
no access to
Right,
it.
you can't visit it.
Yeah.
So like I was saying, the reformatory was for first-time offenders. Boys too old for the juvie, but their crimes weren't bad enough for penitentiary. So I started looking this up, wondering what their crimes could be.
Yeah.
A lot of it was horse stealing, forgery, pickpocketing, grand larceny.
Pickpocketing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah, a lot of it was just, like I said, their first-time
Petty
offenders.
crimes.
Right. They hadn't killed anybody,
Mm-hmm.
or they were robberies, but there was no weapons involved.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the crimes that these first 150 that came to the facility, those were
their charges.
a big chunk of what their charges were.
Mm-hmm.
Because I actually found a full listing of the first 150 inmates, their names and what their crimes were.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know how I found that, but I did. But
Hello,
this is
rabbit hole.
that was a big rabbit hole.
That's what she said. Sorry.
But I just condensed it down. Most of it was horse stealing, forgery.
Yeah.
Pickpocketing.
And then,
Pickpocketing.
I mean, back then though, horse stealing was a major crime.
Right.
That was huge. Pickpocketing, especially in cities, that was big because you had a lot of the poor kids, unfortunately, that would go around and pickpocket. So I mean, I guess you're trying to send a message, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it just now you think about it, it's like, well, that's petty. Back then, it wasn't so petty. That was major,
Right.
you know.
But they hadn't killed anybody, so
Yeah, that's a totally different.
right.
You know.
Most of them had sentences of 18 months.
Not bad.
During the 18 months, they received their big 3 things that they received, whether there was religion, education, and taught a trade. I had found a spot where it listed like the different trades that they were learning while they were there, but it closed out and I couldn't get it to open up again. But the facility itself was self-sufficient with its own power plant, working farm that produced goods for other facilities around them.
Mm-hmm.
So they were taught farming. They also had a furniture shop. So they were making furniture
Okay.
that they would sell to the community.
So they were learning actual trades.
Yeah. And I want to say, too, there was like a shoemaking department, but I could be wrong on that.
Okay.
Because like I said, I closed it out by accident and then I couldn't find it again. But it sounded like they had multiple trades that they could actually learn so that they were actually legit. Like,
Yeah. They're legitimately learning a trade so
right,
they
so
could
that
be...
when they got out, they could contribute to society.
Yeah.
After 18 months, they were evaluated. If they were showing progress of rehabilitation and that they would be able to rejoin society without causing problems, they were released. If they were not in good standing and they did not look like they were reforming, they would stay for another 18 months.
So they doubled, or you basically would stay there double your
Right.
initial... Ooh. So that would give you initiative to
improve yourself
Yeah.
and to buckle down and learn that trade that they were trying to teach you. Absorb the religion. It didn't say
Yeah.
what religion that they were.
just a religion in
Yeah, it
general.
just said religion and education. And you think about, too, some of them might not have had the opportunity for education, or they only got education most of the time. Back then, it was like up to 8th grade.
Yeah.
And then you were expected to join
Help
the
on
workforce.
yeah, well, 99% of it was you went and helped out on the farm.
So, I mean, this is a great opportunity to further your education.
Yeah, yeah.
When the reformatory first opened, they had a high success rate. They were doing well. They were able to release people back out into the community. But over time, other facilities were getting overcrowded.
Mm-hmm.
So they started dumping people in the reformatory because they had no other place to put them.
That sounds familiar. We've done a couple of shows where they've done that.
Right.
Yeah.
From 1935 till 1959, Arthur Lewis, I forgot to look up how to pronounce his last name, Glattke,
Gladkey.
Glattke, was a superintendent. People truly enjoyed working with this guy.
Okay.
He was respected by the inmates and any of the professionals that came and went throughout the facility. He ran a clean, calm reformatory. He even started pumping in music to the cells. And the inmates appreciated this, enjoyed it. And it was just a good environment. Go ahead.
So you will learn later, but this sounds really familiar to something that I have watched.
Yes.
Keep going. Nope, just keep going, but it's just kind of like, okay, I remember seeing this in a movie.
Yeah, it was. And that's probably where they got it
some
from.
of it from. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
But he was greatly respected. He lived with his wife and his 2 sons in the front of the facility.
Mm-hmm.
So the front of this facility was the warden's
Living quarters.
Yes, thank you. His wife was the only female in the facility.
How uneasy would that make you feel?
But from the sounds of it, it was almost completely separate. Even though it was attached, it was almost completely separate from the actual reformatory.
That would still make me, as a husband and a father,
Nervous.
make me nervous. It would be in the back of my head, making me very uneasy, because if something were to happen in there, not saying that something ever did, but
Right.
if something were to happen,
Right, that something would happen to your family.
hold them hostage or something. You know
Right.
what I mean?
No, I totally understand that. I totally agree with that. I didn't see anything that goes along those lines, but
Yeah, no. That's just me after almost 2 years of doing this podcast.
right, your mind automatically
Goes to
"Choop."
the worst,
Yep,
you know.
it does. But they lived there with their 2 younger boys for many, many years. And we're going to come back to them in a little bit. But first, I'm going to tell you about some of the inmates that ended up in the reformatory.
Okay.
Around 1946, it became a maximum security facility that housed all types of offenders. So it went from
A minimum
yeah.
security to almost a maximum.
Right. And these offenders were described as being brutal, inhumane, disgraceful, unfit for human rehabilitation, or even to habitat with other humans.
Mm-hmm.
So it went from helping out young men to better their lives to just dumping the worst of the worst. into this facility. So this is going to make the warden's life harder because now they have all these horrible inmates coming in.
Yeah.
2 of these particular inmates were named Merle Robert Daniels, he was 24, and John C. West, who was 22. Merle was described by prison officials as a psychopathic personality. He was he was of average intelligence and had been sentenced to the reformatory for unarmed robbery.
Psychopathic tendencies, though.
Yes. So average IQ is about 100. I looked it up. John West was classified as a moron with an IQ of less than 60.
Ooh. So he was on the, there's a scale.
He's at the bottom of the scale.
Yeah, he was...
Below average starts at 70 and goes
Mm-hmm.
down. He was less than 60.
Oh, geez. So very influent. He could be influenced very heavily.
And very easily.
Yeah.
He was sent to the reformatory for grand larceny. I looked that up too. Grand larceny is theft of personal property having a value above a legally specified amount.
Which is typically about $500 to $1,000.
It depends on the state and where it was at and when it was at.
Yeah, true.
But from what I could see, it might have been he stole a car.
Oh, okay.
So that was a certain dollar, above a certain dollar amount, so he was sentenced.
Because there is no such thing as Grand Theft Auto.
Right. They were in the reformatory together about 6 months.
Okay.
That's
That's
a short time frame for these two to have such a strong bond.
We've talked about this before we started recording, and now that you've told me the background to it, now that you've told me his IQ, and I could see in 6 months where he could be easily influenced by somebody that has a higher intelligence. You know what I mean? Very easily influenced to do anything.
These two were quickly dubbed. Oh, I'll tell you that in a second. Let's backtrack just a little bit. So on September 25th, 1947, Merle Robert Daniels was released on good behavior. So he did 4 years of his sentence. It doesn't say how long his sentence was. I couldn't figure that out. But he did 4 years, and he was released on good behavior. West was not released until March 12th, 1948. So there was...
A 4-year...
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind.
A couple months.
Yeah, a couple months
6
after.
months.
Yeah.
Separation. Again, he was released for good behavior. He only served 1 year. Again, it doesn't say how long their sentences were supposed to be. West called Daniels the day he was released. He even invited Daniels to come to West Virginia, where West was headed, to come visit him.
Mm-hmm.
On June 20th, 1948, the two reconnected. July of 1948, their rampage began. Now, remember, these two were released on good behavior. It started out with they stole a 2-toned car from a parking lot, got a gun, started drinking, reminiscing about their time together in the reformatory. Things did not go well after that. They robbed a gas station. While they were there, they beat the attendant in the head just to prove that they were tough and had the guts to do it.
Here, I'll prove it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
During their second robbery, no one was hurt, but the two decided they needed to leave Columbus. On July 9th, they robbed Joe's Grill. Several customers escaped out the back once they saw the guns. West fired his .45, but didn't hit anyone. They cleared out the register and the safe, then left. They then entered into Earl Ambrose Tavern from the back entrance, announcing it was a robbery. The owner, Ambrose, tried to escape, but was shot 3 times in the back, killing him instantly. A female patron was also shot. Hers was not fatal. She was shot in the stomach.
Okay.
But she was able to give a description on who came in and robbed the place. Daniels and West left with $8,000. even with an eyewitness writing down their license plate, the men were able to avoid the police for over a week. During this time, they picked up girls, they hung out, they did some small robberies just to pay for their
Lifestyle.
their shits and giggles,
Yeah.
and they plotted. So the more time they spent together, the more drinking they did, the more reminiscing they did.
The more they had to, more of a chance of plotting something worse.
Right. Both men felt wronged or badly treated by several of the guards at the reformatory.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted revenge. One guard in particular stood out for both men. They wanted to find and kill Willis Harris, also known as Red. They returned to Mansfield, only to realize they didn't know where Red lived.
Fucking duh.
Okay, so they're still driving that two-toned
Car.
Buick that they stole originally. There is a search going on for them already, but they've crossed multiple state lines, multiple counties.
And there's no communication in between the two, obviously.
Well, surprisingly for this situation,
There was.
they were able to share information fairly quickly
Wow.
because they, like I said, all of this happens like within a week time frame.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking months.
No,
Yeah.
this was a short time frame. So they returned to Mansfield only to realize that they didn't know where Red lived. So after some drinking and some thinking, Daniels and West decided to get Red's address from the guard's boss. So they went to John Niebel. He was, at the time, the superintendent
Mm-hmm.
for the reformatory. So they're like, well, he's got to know where his employees work at or where they live
Where
at.
they live at, yeah.
So we're going to go hunt him down. We know where he lives. We're going to go get the address from him.
Mm-hmm.
Around midnight in July 1948, Daniels knocks on Niebel's door, stating his car broke down and needed to use the phone. Once inside, Daniels pulls the gun out while West had attacked from behind. They start ransacking the house, trying to find information. In the meantime, they woke up John's wife, Nolinda, and his daughter, 21-year-old daughter, Phyllis, not realizing that, sure, this guy might have a family. They
Yeah.
woke them up.
Dumbasses.
Mm-hmm. Daniels rapes Phyllis.
Are you fucking kidding me?
No. He ends up raping her. This is the older guy, the smarter one. He ends up raping her. They then take the family and throw them in the back of the car and drive them to a cornfield. They march them out into the middle of this cornfield, make them kneel down, and then Daniels proceeds to shoot them all.
Execution.
John was shot 2 times in the head. His wife was shot in the stomach, then the head. Phyllis, still with curlers in her hair because she had been sleeping, she was shot in the back of the head once.
There's a special place in hell for people like this.
These two are now being dubbed the Maddog Killers. And you have to look them up as Maddog Killers of Ohio because there are another set of Maddog Killers, but they're from
somewhere else.
Yeah, I want to say Maine or something like that. Because I started reading about them, I was like, wait.
Yeah, wrong
names.
ones.
So I had to backtrack and double check. But by this time, people are starting to call them the Maddog Killers. When John Niebel didn't show to work the next day, prison officials went to his home, only to find it ransacked and the whole family had been kidnapped. Their bodies were found later that day.
Oh, so that was pretty quick.
It was very quick, especially for this time frame.
Yeah.
But neighbors had recalled seeing a car outside the home, hearing a bunch of ruckus. Nobody reported it because they weren't really sure what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So the neighbors were aware, kind of.
Yeah. They knew something was going on.
Right. And they were able to give a description of the car. The car being two-toned, I think, was a big aspect of it.
Yeah.
Knowing that they would be wanted, they needed to put some distance between them and the crime scene. They left town, tried to carjack a young married couple, killing the husband, but the wife got away. Okay, so at this point, they know people are going to start looking for this two-toned car.
Yeah, so they're trying to ditch it and find another car.
Right, so they actually went to a restaurant that's similar to like an A&W with the car hop situation.
Yeah.
And they spotted this young married couple sitting in the car having root beer floats together. And for some reason, they were stuck on this particular type of car. This couple had the same, I want to say it was a Buick, but it wasn't two-toned. For some reason, that was their thing. Right. Maybe they were just easy to hotwire. I don't know. But just
you never know, like, seriously.
Just as they were going to go and take the car from the young couple, a waitress came over to the car, interfered, and the young couple were actually leaving.
Mm-hmm.
So they told the waitress they didn't want anything. They started following the young couple, and at one point caused them to veer off the road, get out of the car to carjack them, end up killing the husband, and the wife gets away. She runs across the highway and down this long driveway to a farmhouse. So she gets away unharmed. West actually gets in the car and leaves Daniels, realizes he left Daniels, turns around to pick him up.
Jesus Christ.
And they're back on the road again.
Oh. Things that make you shake your head.
I know. But because the wife got away, they were like, well, we can't keep this car because people are going to know what we're driving now.
Yeah.
So they're on the lookout for something else to steal. They ended up at what was called the Ironside Inn, or a long parking area. You know how we have rest areas when you're driving down the long stretch? So basically It was a rest area that had multiple people out there sleeping in their cars. There was actually a car hauler with 5 new Studebakers on it. And they were like, ooh, perfect. The driver was asleep in the cab in the carrier. Wes walked up to the 24-year-old Orville Taylor, woke him up, pulled him out of the cab, and then walked him off to some tall weeds towards the back of the rest area and shot him twice.
Jesus Christ.
In the meantime, Daniels is unloading all the stuff out of the car into the car carrier.
Mm-hmm.
So the truck that's carrying the cars, they're
not even, the cars. They want the carrier.
They're not even thinking about taking a car. They want to take the whole thing.
Jesus fucking Christ. Like, like that's not obvious. Like,
seriously. And this is what trips them up as far as them getting away. So Daniels has moved everything into the car carrier. Daniels then goes up onto the top row of the car carrier and gets inside one of the Studebakers. He's taken a couple guns with him up to the Studebaker that is covered under canvas, but he had cut slits into it so he could see out. West gets into the cab of the truck and starts driving.
I'm still hung on the fact that they stole the fucking carrier.
Right, they didn't just take a Studebaker.
I'm sorry, I'm like, what?
I know, I was thinking when I was reading this, I'm like, oh, they're just going to steal a Studebaker and go on their way. It's not going to have license. There's no way of tracking it.
Oh, no. Let's take the fucking carrier that is licensed, and now you just killed the driver of it.
Right, and the driver, it turns out the driver was married and had 4 young kids under the age of 5.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah. So they have already driven through multiple roadblocks because this is such a big deal. They killed the prison superintendent, his family. News is spreading fast, and the different communities are actually talking to each other during this time frame. There is massive communication going on and a massive search for these guys.
Well, yeah, because technically he killed a cop.
Basically,
so you know how they get if you kill. Right. It's just like military. You know how you get. I mean,
so there is a huge manhunt looking for these guys, and they have roadblocks set up everywhere. They've already gotten through 4 roadblocks. Don't know how. It doesn't go into how they get past these. But it could be the simple fact that West is driving by himself. He doesn't look suspicious. He's not too bright, so people aren't going to think anything of it. While Daniels is hiding in the Studebaker up on top. But they get to the 5th roadblock and end up having a shootout with the police. So they get pulled over, and the one is talking with West, while the other one starts looking at the Studebakers on the carrier.
Mm-hmm.
He actually climbs up to the top Studebaker, or the top row of the carrier, and he sees through the slit that had been cut in the tent over it.
Mm-hmm.
He could see Daniels inside and see the weapons that Daniel has.
Mm.
And he called down to the other officer on the ground that he found who he thinks is Daniels. West loses it, gets out of the truck, and starts shooting. He shoots the deputy that's on the ground. As he's falling, the deputy is falling, he starts shooting back. He ends up shooting West in the head, and they were able to recapture Daniels. Yeah.
Oh, God. So much for being reformed.
When what made it suspicious is the truck driving down the road that it was driving with the Studebakers on it. Most of the time, the Studebakers were leaving that area.
Mm-hmm.
So their mistake was if they had continued, say, north,
Instead
like the
of
truck
south.
driver was planning,
Yeah.
they probably would have gotten away. But they were retracing the route that the driver was taking. So it was taking them back to the manufacturing plant.
Yeah.
And it looked suspicious to people. They were like, why is that bringing...
Why is it coming back?
Right. It
with
should be
brand
going
new
the
cars
other...
on there. Yeah.
It should be going the other way. So
Yeah.
that really triggered some red flags for people. So West actually died at about 11 a.m. at the hospital. Daniels was taken into custody. Daniels later gave a press release. He went into great detail of their crimes, enjoying all the attention he was getting from the press. So many people wanted to talk to Daniels, including reporters for newspapers. The police decided, let's just set him out there on the front steps of the jailhouse and let him talk to everybody. So he had his own press release.
He's got an audience.
Exactly. And he was eating it up.
Mm-hmm.
There are even parts where he starts smiling and winking for the cameras.
Playing it up.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. He wants his 15 minutes of fame.
Oh, and he even says, I'm going to get the chair for this, and winks at the camera. I feel like the rabbits from Peter Rabbit trying to wink.
Right.
Wanted in 3 counties, it was finally decided to hold the trial in Richland County, where the entire Nebel family had been murdered. So there was a debate for a little while where they were going to hold the trial because they were wanted in so many places. But because of the Nebel family, it was quickly decided. And they figured that would be the fastest trial out of all of them.
Oh, yeah, because you murdered 3 people.
Right.
So.
All
Yeah,
together.
all together.
After trying to change his plea, stating that he doesn't clearly remember what happened or pulling the trigger on the Nebel family, and that West had been the killer all along, he was still found guilty and sentenced to death row. He was transferred from the Reformatory to the Ohio State Penitentiary and became inmate number 13 on death row.
So he is the 13th person since the inception of
Mhm.
capital punishment to be
On death row
On
at
death
the
row.
Ohio State Penitentiary. On January 3rd, 1949, at 8:01 p.m., he was executed in the electric chair. At 8:09 p.m., he was declared dead.
good fucking place for him, too.
So these were just 2 of the inmates,
From,
the Ohio State Reformatory, that were dumped there because other facilities...
were too overcrowded or whatever.
Right.
Thinking that they could be reformed. Because that's what it was set up for originally.
That's what it was set up for, but at this point, I think they had to just...
They had to put them somewhere.
Right, so they just dumped them in there. And I don't know that they were necessarily prepared on how to handle them.
Or
treat
reform them or
Right.
anything like that. Yeah.
Nobody really understands how they were released on good behavior.
Well, I mean, you got 2 people playing the system. You know, let's be on our best behavior. We already know how this is going to work, you know.
I don't know. I don't know.
And if they were in there for petty crime, then there was no reason to keep them in there if that's what they were in there for. I mean,
Well, yeah, like I said, West was in there for grand larceny.
yeah, petty crime, basically.
And Daniels was in there for unarmed robbery.
Yeah.
So technically, their crimes did fall under the reformatory requirements.
Yeah. Huh.
But
yeah.
together, they just were a volatile mix.
Well, there are serial killers out there, team serial killers that are the same way. You get the dominant one and the less dominant one together and separate. They were okay, but you put them together and this is what you get.
But the weird thing, and I had to go back and like read it multiple times, and like I even read it out loud because I was like, this doesn't make sense. So supposedly when West got out, he was the one that was dubbed the moron.
Mm-hmm.
When he got out and he called Daniel's father was like, stay away from him.
Mm-hmm.
Stay away from that boy.
Everybody could see there was something wrong with him. Or you could see the evil in this person.
I don't know. That's what I had to keep reading it. I was like, why would Merle's dad tell him to stay away from John when Merle was the one who was the more dominant one?
Mm-hmm.
And John was the imbecile, the
less
intelligent one. Or maybe they, like you said, they could already see that Daniels had like a control over West.
Yeah.
And it made them nervous.
Yeah.
But his dad was like, stay away from him. His mom even begged, please don't go visit him, stay away.
Uh-huh.
And that was the last time she saw him, she was standing out on the porch steps begging him not to leave, and he did anyway.
Yeah. Jeez.
So yeah, that was two of the inmates from the reformatory.
That could have been its own friggin' episode right there.
I know. I started writing it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is just a whole story, all of it in its own.
Yeah.
Finally, back in 1960, the state of Ohio stopped funding the reformatory program aspect of it, and it was converted into a maximum security prison due to overpopulation and understaffed and just poor keeping of the facility in general. It was closed in the 90s.
Wow, that's a long run, though.
94 years.
From the 1880s, right, is what you said?
1886 is
when
they
it started building it until 1990s.
Yep.
That's a long run.
But during that time frame, back in November 1950, now we're going to go back to Gletke and his family and his wife. So on November 6, 1950, Helen Gletke was trying to retrieve a jewelry box from the top shelf in the closet. Allegedly, she knocked a handgun off the shelf, which was a .32 caliber semi-automatic.
Mm-hmm.
She knocked it off the shelf, and it discharged and shot her in the chest.
Oh, geez.
There's a lot of discrepancies on. Some say she died that day. Some said it was like 3 days later.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like she punctured her lung. She was shot, and it punctured her lung. And technically, it was put down that she died of pneumonia. Then years later, Warden Gletke passed from a massive heart attack in his office. There are several stories that float around this. Some say that Helen came home from work early and discovered that her husband was having extramarital affairs, and that he arranged it to have her killed. Some say it was just strictly an accident, but nobody quite understands how this gun
could have
accidentally went off and shot her the way it did, but there's no way of proving it one way or the other. Now, some say that he died of a massive heart attack because Helen never left, and that she proceeded to haunt him.
Well,
and that she caused him to have this massive heart attack. And people say that when you're near the warden's living quarters, that you can still hear them in like heated debates and having conversations. Helen is often seen in what was the white sitting room. I guess this was where she did like her what do you call it, socializing. That was her area.
Yeah.
Quite often, before you see her or sense her, you can smell her rose perfume. Some people say that you can smell the rose perfume in the white parlor, and then you can follow the trail that leads back to the closet where she was shot. People say that she's very polite.
Most women back then were.
She will, for ghost hunters who've been there and they've asked questions, she will answer softly and quietly. They will ask who she is, and she will say her name is Helen. She will say, please, thank you.
Oh, At least she's not vindictive.
No, she is not. And she's also spotted, I guess she had a pink bathroom.
Okay.
And she's often spotted in the pink bathroom as well. On January 30th, 1960, there was an inmate by the name of James Lockhart. He was 22 years old. He decided to take his sentencing into his own hands. He smuggled a flammable liquid, possibly paint thinner or turpentine, from the furniture shop, took it back to his cell, which was number 13, covered himself, his clothes, and his mattress, then set himself on fire.
Oh, fuck. It's a hell of a way to go.
Yeah.
God.
His neighboring inmate was trapped in the noxious fumes, the billowing smoke, and the agonized shrieking. So there was 13, and then the other guy, his name was Fly, was in cell 14. Now, these cells they're steel cells. They're freestanding. They're the world's biggest freestanding steel cells.
Okay.
And in this particular one, it's 6 stories high. So there's 6 cells on top of each other. Before the guards even knew what was going on, Fly from cell 14 is trying to get their attention and is trying to cover himself with water and is like dazed and confused on what's going on. In the meantime, James, in number 13, is screaming in pain, burning himself to death. 2 guards were actually burned trying to get to Fly to get him out of his cell, to get him away from all of this. Fly actually believes that even though Lockhart ended his sentence, he's still there to this day. You can still hear his faint screaming, his agonizing.
That's a pretty violent way to go.
Oh.
I could see why he'd be hanging around there. Like,
yeah, it's just.
Oh, yuck.
There was another inmate who took the sheet off of his bed and made a noose out of it. And before anybody could stop him or even realize what was happening, he threw himself over the railing.
Oh, fuck.
And hung himself where everybody could see his body just
hanging there.
And so quite often people will say that they see this image hanging.
Just swinging back and forth. Ooh.
People say this place is very evil, very dark.
Bad juju.
Women have reported while touring the facility. Now, mind you, there were no female prison guards. There were no female workers at this facility.
Mm-hmm.
So when women tour the facility, it's basically like being there with live inmates. They say there's catcalling, whistling, hair pulling. They are violently pushed from behind. They are touched inappropriately.
Steer clear.
Like,
oh, Jesus.
Women have reported quite often being groped, whispering inappropriateness in their ears. Just
no, not a place I want to visit anytime soon.
One ghost hunter was there with a couple other female ghost hunters, and she was further ahead than the other 2, and she could feel someone tugging. She said there was 3 hard tugs on her ponytail to the point it made her head snap back.
Yeah.
And when she turned around to look, the other 2 girls were still back on the stairs. And she was asking, like, why did you pull my ponytail? And they're like,
we didn't.
We weren't anywhere near you.
Yeah.
One was playing with her camera, trying to figure out why it wasn't functioning properly. The other one was like, no one was around you. And she's like, I felt someone pull my ponytail. In 1930s, there had been an uprising in the prison, in the reformatory.
Yeah.
And approximately 120 rioters were placed in solitary confinement. Now, at the reformatory, there were only 20 cells for solitary confinement. In these cells, it is only big enough to put the bed, toilet, and a sink. There's no windows. There's no lighting. So these are tiny little 120 rioters and 20 cells.
So that's, how many? 20 cells? That's, what does that average out to?
I think it was saying like 16 inmates to a cell.
Oh, Jesus.
2 inmates to a solitary confinement cell was uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine
120, that'd be 25 inmates per... No, that because there was 20 cells. Sorry, I'm doing that backwards. But anyway, go ahead. I'll figure it out.
they were actually surprised that after a week, when they released the rioters out of there, only one inmate had passed away. He had been beaten to death by one of the other inmates, shoved under the mattress. Like, they all walked out and just like, hello.
Don't want nothing to do with them anyway.
No.
Good God.
People think that that might have been a Mike. His name was Mike, that was killed in that cell. He's not a very nice person.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
He's
either.
He's not a nice spirit. People, depending on how he is approached, is how he responds. But most people say that he's just not a pleasant spirit.
I mean, after being killed and stuffed under a mattress.
Well, who knows what he did to get there in the first place?
Yeah.
What he did to instigate this backlash.
Yeah.
One person reported that while visiting the hospital ward of the facility, that they felt intense pressure upon their chest. They had difficulty drawing breath, almost feeling like they were suffering the pain of someone with tuberculosis. And after several minutes of this feeling and starting to panic because they couldn't get a breath, and all they wanted to do was start coughing, that it finally released. Yeah, and they were able to breathe again. But they were like, the only thing they could think of is, this is the pain that somebody went through. And
while they were in there. And
right, and they wanted to share. They wanted someone to know that this is what it was like.
Yeah.
While they were there. There's an area called the toilet room. It was called the toilet room because back then they had bedpans. When the bedpans weren't in use, they were stored in this room in part of the infirmary. Yes.
Infirmatory.
The hospital area.
Yeah.
Now, apparently this area is supposed to be very
infirmary.
Haunted. Yes, thank you. Apparently this area is very haunted as well. Don't know the connection. I don't know if it's just because it's part of the hospital area. One group of people were in the area, and one thought it would be funny to jump out at his buddy as his buddy walked by. So he stepped into this closet called the toilet room and kind of pulled the door shut. And he was going to jump out at his friend when his friend walked by. But as his friend was walking by, the door went open, and he starts panicking. He cannot get the door to open. He was like, maybe I'm supposed to be pulling and not pushing. And he starts panicking and screaming and knocking. And there was other people on the outside. He's like, unlock the door, let me out. And everybody was like, there's no lock. There's nothing preventing you from getting out. Push the door open. And he's like, it won't open. It's stuck. And his friend was like, well, maybe you're supposed to pull. And he's like, I tried that. Nothing is working. This door is not opening. Something is in here with me. Let me out. And as they were getting a group of people together to try to pry this door open, it just
opened.
Just slowly opened on its own. And let the guy out.
Could you imagine that, though, being stuck in there like that? Knowing the history of this place? Yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd be freaking out, too.
They said, one of the doctors that worked in the hospital ward was 6 foot. He was 6'7", 300 pounds. And he was like, when he told you to take your meds,
you took your
meds.
Yep.
You don't play around with him.
Yep.
And they think that he still hangs out in the hospital ward, and he was punishing this guy who thought he was going to be funny and startle his friend.
Yeah.
And that he was punished
him for doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just sounds like, this place in general just has a lot of
bad aura around it.
Yes. But it's an absolutely beautiful building. If you look at it from the pictures, it's just gorgeous.
No, I mean, if it was originally supposed to be used as a reformatory, it's supposed to look nice, And
I think it's sad that it never got to completely have that possibility, that it was stolen from them, that they had to dump all these other prisoners into it.
Really, that makes so much sense to reform somebody or at least try to reform the younger,
especially if it was
a
minor crime that they committed.
Yeah.
that I love that idea of trying to give them a fresh start and teaching them a trade and
Yeah.
trying to help them back out into community.
Yeah.
So I think it's sad that it didn't get that full potential to do that.
Of course, leave it to the state to just say, oh, but we're going to toss
Right.
some more in there.
So it just ended up with this horrific group of people.
And it just spiraled out of control from there.
Severely. Like in the 70s, it was deemed uninhabitable, but it didn't close until the 90s.
There's been a couple that I started some research on that said that it was uninhabitable, but they still freaking used it. And it's like, why? If you are saying that you nobody should be living in it, why are there still people being sent there?
This one closed in the 90s, and they had built a brand new facility behind
That's nice.
behind the original facility.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it's still technically on the same land. I don't think so, because the reformatory is open for tours.
So, it might still be. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, it's hard. That's why I'm wondering too, as I'm saying this, if that's why you can't go to the cemetery, because the cemetery might be on the property with the current penitentiary. So technically you can't go on those grounds.
Yeah.
So that might be why you can't visit the
Maybe.
cemetery.
Yeah.
So they did finally open a new facility, and everybody was transferred to the new facility,
one.
and it was shut down in the 90s. They started demolishing the buildings for the facility, but the community rallied. They didn't want it taken down. They wanted to preserve
Mm-hmm.
the historical aspects of
That prison or that that reformatory.
Right. So the community rallied and
Mhm.
preserved the reformatory.
Well, that's cool.
I thought that was pretty dang cool.
Now, you want to fill everybody in on the movie that?
Well, if
This
you
is from?
haven't guessed by now, one of many movies that was filmed there was Shawshank Redemption.
And I absolutely love that movie.
You do.
That it's an amazing movie. And Red, if you don't know, was a character in Shawshank. And there was a point in that movie where I believe it was Andy, I believe that was his name, the main character, pumped music through the prison and actually got him in trouble.
Or didn't he break
Um,
into like the warden's?
Yeah.
And he started playing records over
over
the speaker system.
Yep. And that's what I'm like, that sounds like Shawshank.
Yeah.
There's a couple other parts in that movie while you were telling me this. I'm like, oh, yeah, that reminds me of Shawshank.
So they do multiple different tours at this facility, and one of them is the movie Shawshank Redemption movie tour.
Mm-hmm.
And there are actually parts in there where it looks like the warden's office from the movie. There's a scene where they're sitting in the cafeteria eating, where they're on the picnic table type benches.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they have a mural with the main characters sitting on one side of the table, and then coming out of the wall is the other side of the table, and you can sit at the table.
Really?
So it looks like you're sitting at the table with them.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
thought that was pretty dang cool.
That's cool.
They do just general walking tours. They do the movie tour. They do different ghost tours. They do group tours. They do school tours, which I thought was pretty dang interesting, especially if they consider the place haunted with malicious spirits.
Yeah.
But maybe the spirits don't bother the children.
There's a code.
So,
you know?
I don't know, but Shawshank was not the only movie that was recorded there. There was Harry and Walter Go to New York, Tango and Cash. That was in 1989.
Really?
Shawshank Redemption was 1994. Air Force One
I didn't know that.
was 1997.
Really?
Fallen Angels was 2006. The Wind is Watching. I've never heard of that one. 2013. And then there was one, Escape Plan, the Extractors.
Mm-hmm.
That one was a 2019.
Oh, really? Most of those movies I've never heard of.
Well,
just
the
two
estate
of them.
plan had like Sylvester Stallone in it, and
Oh, I wonder if that one was on Netflix.
can't remember who else now.
Now that you say something, it sounds familiar. Anyway,
But it has been used for multiple different movies. Just
Mhm.
Shawshank, I think, is
the most popular one.
right.
Yeah. Yep.
But I think Shawshank might be the most popular one because it used the OSR used it as a backdrop for what it was actually
Used
for.
for.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
So
And-
the movie the storyline goes along with the actual facility. So
And another scene in that movie that your story reminded me of is the warden had a heart attack, right?
Mhm.
But in Shawshank, the warden actually shot himself. So I
Oh,
mean,
let's see.
it's almost like if you're following this and the movie, some could
There are
say
some
that
similarities
you
to it.
kind of took two stories and put it
to one,
together,
yeah.
and there you go. But I mean, it just there's eerie similarities to the history of that and
the movie.
that movie.
Now, the one of the sons from the Galecki family, he says he thinks it's ridiculous that people think that his parents would be haunting the facility, considering that technically neither one of them died at OSRR.
It
They
doesn't.
died at the hospital.
We have learned though that it does not matter where they died at.
Right,
It
they
was
can
where
still return to
either their happiest place or their worst place.
right. So, but he thinks it's ridiculous that people would start these stories because technically neither one of his parents died there. That they died at the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
That his mom, one report says that his mom died 3 days later after the gunshot, but most of them said within a day she died.
Yeah.
And she was at the hospital. That his father did have a massive heart attack at his office, but he technically died at the hospital, not in his office.
Interesting.
Oh, and one ghost tour guide, he was out with a group of people he had taken out, and they'd spread out throughout this larger room that they were in, and they were all doing their own research. And he was just kind of standing in the middle, just waiting to kill time because it was close to the end of their tour session.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 4:30 in the morning. He was just standing there minding his own business. And he said he got punched so hard from behind that it actually left a huge bruise that took months to heal.
God damn.
He says he has no idea why he had gotten punched. He said there was no one anywhere near him. No one that could have even been close enough to hit him and run away.
Yeah.
He just got punched in the back, like in his kidney area, and it left a massive bruise that took months to heal.
Jesus Christ. Talk about malicious.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I kind of want to see this facility.
After all of that, no.
But I don't think I would do any of the ghost touring after hours.
Yeah.
I would only do daytime tours.
Yeah.
And it says it
Ouch.
takes about an hour and a half to walk the facility.
Mm-hmm.
But I did look it up, and they do currently still
do
do
it.
tours. It's still open to the community. You can walk through. They do self-guided, or there are guided tours.
No, thanks.
No to this
No.
one,
No.
but still yes to Alcatraz.
Yeah. I mean, you got women fucking their hair getting pulled and people leaving with bruises. I will pass on that one, thanks. No thanks.
Okay.
Just saying. I know you would.
Like I said, I would go during the day. I would definitely not do a night tour. No.
I wouldn't do any tour. Tell me how that works out for you.
Chris, Deb,
Yeah.
anybody want to go on a road trip?
Yeah, right. Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, that was the story of the Ohio State Reformatory,
Yes.
not prison.
Right.
Big difference. So,
I don't know. This one just was fascinating to me also.
yeah, she had her nose in books, like, and she's trying to find documentaries, and she's like, it's all about Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, I know it was getting very frustrated because everybody wants to talk about Shawshank Redemption. I'm like, I'm trying to find the history on this facility. I don't really care about Shawshank Redemption.
Right? Who gives a rat's ass?
But there's tons and tons of information out there about Shawshank Redemption if you want to research that.
Just nothing on
Finding the history was hard. And like I said, a lot of times it twisted and turned with the penitentiary. And I'm like, they're two separate facilities.
yeah.
And then I came across the Maddog Killers, and I was like, this is too good of a story not
to include
not
into
to
it.
share. It needs to be part of this.
Yeah. And that's kind of ironic how that intertwines with that. And it's just sad that people were killed because of two people that wanted to take revenge, that so many people were killed because they wanted revenge on one specific person
who they never
that
found.
They never even...
Nope, they never found him.
Yeah. Wow. It's unbelievable. There is a special place in hell for people like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Anyway, you ready to wrap this up?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And you want to tell them where we can be found? You remember how to do that?
Yes. You can find us at www.allhallowsevepodcast.com. We have all of our episodes up there. We have links to our merchandise. Check that out. We have a page up there dedicated to our fans who have bought merchandise and have sent us pictures. You can shoot us emails through there. I will go through and read them if Jason has not. I didn't know he was not checking that.
Well, I have it linked up to our email, so when I check email,
Oh, okay.
it automatically pops up. So
I guess he was still doing that.
Yep.
Um,
I was checking my emails. Relax.
So, come on over, shoot us a message. Let us know what you think. Go on to any subscriber that you listen to us and make sure you hit the little like button.
Yep. Like and subscribe, guys.
Absolutely. That gets us more listens, which makes us higher in the
food chain.
Right.
It really does help. And as a matter of fact, hold on a hot minute here.
Make sure you tell your friends about us. Invite them over to listen.
Yeah.
If there's something that you'd like to hear us talk about, shoot us an email and let us know. I will add it to our little board of ideas.
Absolutely.
Eventually, I'll get to it.
Come on.
What do you do?
We have actually had a couple of new reviews on Apple.
Really?
Yep. And these ones are fairly relatively new. I completely forget about them when we go to record, but I do want to give a shout out to these guys. So, user Kiwi0699, this is from April 20th of this year, gave us 5 stars.
Nice.
And it says, I love the spooky topics. The logo for this pod really catches your attention, but once you listen, you're hooked. Who doesn't love a bit of the spooky and hosts that are this fun to listen to? And then this one's from February 21st, another 5-star. This is from Rocky For Real, and we follow each other on Instagram and Twitter.
Okay.
And it says, Jason and Kathy have excellent banter. I felt like they warm up their pod with interesting chit-chat, giving us a wonderful insight to their personalities. And then they kept the show moving with some excellent urban legends. Big fan of them and big fan of the pod. So thank you.
Oh, thank you guys. That's awesome.
It's those that when we're kind of in that rut, you get those and it's like, all right, yep, no, we got to keep going. And it helps us. It really does. Those ratings and reviews, they really help us get noticed. So we've come leaps and bounds. So
it's awesome.
Yep. I just happened to notice that a couple of weeks ago. So all right.
Thank you, all of you out there listening.
Yep. Thank you. And with that, have a great week, guys, and we will talk to you soon.
Stay spooky, my friends.
Are you ready?
Yes, Big Daddy. Let's do this.
Do it. Do it. That's definitely going into the outtakes.
No, it's not.
Yeah. Oh, challenge accepted.
Do it, Big Daddy.
No, I'm starting that over. All right, are you ready?
Yes, Big Daddy.
Shut up.
Oh, Daddy.
I wonder if it's because it's been sitting up here so long. All right, you ready? I actually have to record this intro because I completely fucking forgot to.